Hi, it's Arlo and Martin, and today we're going to make hand pies.
Okay, let's make these hand pies. So the base of the hand pie is a pastry, and the pastry is essentially a rough puff or quick puff. It's a quicker version of classic puff pastry. You don't get quite the loft that you get with classic pastry, classic puff pastry, but you get delicious tender pastry, and you get it a lot faster and with less work than classic puff. I love rough puff, and you can use it literally 1,000 different ways. So in the bowl, I have all-purpose flour, I have some medium rye flour, I have salt, and I have baking powder. Now, when you go look at the recipe, it says all-purpose, and that's a great way to make it. I swapped out a little bit of AP for medium rye. I like the flavor, and I also like the texture. So that's what I'm doing. Look on the recipe, and you'll see a note for that. So I'm going to combine my dry ingredients. And then I'll get the cold butter in. I toss the butter to get each piece covered with a little bit of flour. And then I start working it in, leaving some large pieces. This is the technique that you've seen a lot of times, whether it's making biscuits or scones or pie crust. It's what we call cold butter process. And it's basically just taking the butter down a little bit in size. Still some big pieces in there. That's okay. And now I'm going to get my hydration in. This recipe is unique in that it uses sour cream rather than water. And the sour cream just adds another level of tenderness and also flavor. And I like it. I will admit that I was maybe a little bit skeptical at first. I'm used to making rough puff or classic puff with water. That's how we do it in bakeries, in professional bakeries. But this works, and the hand pies that we have made using this technique have been really good. So I'm not going to complain. Just going to get that in a little bit. You could turn this out onto the counter at any point. What I find is that if you work it in the bowl for a little while, it's just a little bit less messy. And so I'm going to work it in the bowl until I feel like I have a little bit of a homogeneous mass. Still some dry spots that are okay, but I'm going to kind of bring it together some. Looks like a little bit of a mess, right? It's okay. Watch this. So I'm pressing it, kind of pressing a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to do a couple folds. This is going to develop a little bit of strength, just a little bit. Making sure everything is there. Pretty close. Okay, a little bit of flour on top. And then I'm going to roll it into rectangle-ish. I'm thinking ahead to the shape that I'm going to roll after this is chilled. And because it's a square, I'm going to kind of get close to a square, or I'm at least going to be in a rectangular form so that it's easier for me to have square corners when I come out. If I made a round right now, it would be hard after it's cold to get it into a square, right? But if you start with a square or a rectangle now, you'll be much better off. Okay. So I'll chill this covered now. If you want to speed it up, you can use the freezer or just the fridge is fine. But basically, you just want it to be set. You want this butter to have a chance to firm up. You don't want it rock hard, because if it's rock hard, it's going to be hard to roll. But basically, you just want it firm. Here we go. Okay, so I rolled the dough out to a square about 14 by 14, and then I fold it in half, I cut it, and then I cut it down into pieces that are about 3.5 inches square. You'll see me doing it. It's really hard to get exact squares, and if you're like me and you feel like, I want squares, I don't want weird shapes, I just want them to be nice and even. It may take a little bit of practice. What I would say is this: if you have a round cutter, that's another way to make sure they're all the same, or if you have a square cutter, or you just go for it. Don't fret about it too much. They're hand pies, and they're going to be amazing whether they're perfect or not. So, couple options here for filling and topping. Okay, so I have a filling. The recipe has directions for a blueberry filling. We have so many apples here right now. I wanted to use apples, and so I followed the exact blueberry recipe. I just swapped in apples for the blueberries, and I added like a teaspoon of cinnamon just for a little bit more appley flavor. So I have a nice filling. So I'll demo filling a couple of these so that you can follow along. Come on in here, Arlo. So before I put the filling down, I put a little bit of egg wash just to seal them. This is going to help them stick together. This is like kind of like a generous tablespoon or so of the apple filling. And for the top, you could either cut an X or cut a couple of X's. I have this little maple leaf cutout, which I thought would be nice and seasonal. And so what I'm going to do is use that. And then what I'll do is just press it on. Like that. And then I'll use my fork to just seal the corners or the sides. Like that. And then I'll put those on the tray. And I like to chill them again before they go into the oven. So I'm going to chill them down, and then I'll egg wash them, and then I'll put them in. All right, hand pies are out of the oven and they're cool enough for us. In fact, I've eaten, I think, too many of these already today. So maybe we taste one and split it. So the hand pie, it's rough puff pastry or blitz puff pastry. It's incredibly tender. These are so tender, it's almost ridiculous how tender they are. The recipe calls for a blueberry filling that you make. We swapped in apples. It's just that time of year and it seems appropriate. Egg wash, a little bit of coarse sanding sugar, really super, super delicious. I'm excited to enjoy these. Maybe we'll make these for Thanksgiving this year. All right, well, get out there and try some hand pies. Get creative with the fillings. Try different things out. Make them savory. Cut some nice designs on them. They're so delicious. Enjoy. Thanks, appreciate it.
Such a small serving.
Small serving. Me? Oh, yeah. That's all I can eat, I swear, at this point. Yeah, you got me beat. Okay. You be well. Thank you. It's so buttery. I almost can't eat it. I could eat it.